Rusk disagrees with you, and he was the Secretary of State at the time, but that's fine.
The communist nations have exploited the turmoil of a time of transition in an effort to extend communist control into other areas of the world.
Thoughts on Dean Rusk and America's involvement in Vietnam? I know next to nothing about that.
Exactly. The former teacher recounts witnessing rape, torture, sterilization, and fabricated charges against innocent people inside the so-called re-education camp in China. Sauytbay, an ethnic Kazakh from the Jil Kazakh Autonomous Prefecture of East Turkestan, which the Chinese Communist Party, the CCP, calls Xinjiang, described the year she spent working as a Mandarin instructor at a re-education camp in the region. I witnessed rape, including gang rape, and other inhumane atrocities with my own eyes. Originally, she has been the director of 5 kindergartens. In 2016, amid a CCP mass internment campaign, she was forced to work as a Chinese language instructor inside one of the re-education camps. The camps were officially referred to as vocational training centers, but detainees were locked inside and not allowed to leave. Unlike a prison sentence, there was no judicial process, no charges, and no fixed term. People had no idea how long they would be held or if they would ever be released. This uncertainty created constant fear. That's the most tragic part. In a normal prison system, even someone sentenced to many years knows when their term will end and lives with that hope. But in the camps, nobody knows when you are going to be released. Many people died in detention, and others lived daily with the fear that they might die the next day. The camp in which she was supposed to work held about 2,500 people, both men and women, young and old, including Kazakhs, Uyghurs, Uyghurs, and other Turkic peoples. There were security cameras everywhere, both inside and outside the camp. Surveillance cameras monitored every corner, every activity, everything that was being done in the camps 24 hours a day. The only place without cameras was a room they called the Black Room. This was where torture took place. Even when I was teaching in the classroom, security forces would come in, pull out selected people, and take them into the Black Room. During lessons, we could hear screaming from the room, people screaming, "Please help us! Please save us!" For years, there have been allegations of sterilization and forced medical treatment at the camps. Sauytbay confirmed those allegations, saying the abuse went beyond physical torture. Aside from torture, they would forcibly medicate them and give them shots that would sterilize them. When asked why she believed that the CCP carried out these practices, Sauytbay said that the Kazakhs, Uyghurs, and the Uyghurs and other Turkic peoples were the native inhabitants of East Turkestan, and that the camps were part of a long-standing policy to eliminate the native population. According to her, those detained were innocent and had committed no real crimes. Once inside the camps, authorities began fabricating charges to justify their detention. For Uyghurs, the most common accusations were of terrorism or separatism. If they had any religious affiliation, they would say they were religious extremists. If they tried to maintain their identity, they were labeled as separatists or terrorists. These labels were routinely used as blanket justifications for detention. For Kazakhs, authorities cited ties to Kazakhstan as grounds for detention. This included having relatives there, traveling to Kazakhstan, holding a Kazakh residency card, or even communicating with someone across the border. Similar accusations applied to anyone connected to what authorities internally labeled as 26 terrorist countries. There were roughly 30 official categories of accusations used to justify detention. Even minimal contact could trigger suspicion. If you received a phone call from one of these countries, or if you had a relative there, you were a suspect. However, these policies did not apply to the Han Chinese. Once a person was detained, authorities examined his or her background and lifestyle to construct a charge that fit the state's narrative. Business people were accused of threatening state security through foreign ties, and artists and musicians were also targeted. Kazakh singers were accused of separatism simply for performing songs in the Kazakh language. References to ancestry, heritage, or homeland were treated as evidence of anti-state sentiment. This is how they did it. They looked at who you were, what you did in life, and then they found a crime that fit their narrative. These people were already in the camp, and then the government tried to find a reason to blame them for being there. They could not endure the psychological and physical torture they were subjected to in the camps. The situation was so hopeless that some people would have taken their own lives, but even that was impossible because of the constant 24/7 surveillance. As an instructor, she was not tortured, but her life was only marginally better than those of the prisoners. They were given 3 small meals a day, usually a bowl of watery rice and manitou, a Chinese steamed bun, with no opportunity to obtain additional food. Like the inmates, she was not permitted to have any contact with the outside world. In 2018, after witnessing what took place inside the camp, authorities released her, but they refused to restore her position as a kindergarten director. Soon afterward, she was warned that the CCP intended to send her back to the camp, this time as a prisoner. If I was sent there again, I knew I was not going to come out alive. Faced with detention, she took the risk of escape and fled across the border into Kazakhstan, where she was arrested for illegal entry and faced possible deportation back to China. After months of fear, appeals, and uncertainty, she ultimately obtained refugee status and in July 2019 was resettled in Sweden, where she has lived with her family since. More than 1 million Uyghurs have been held in CCP detention camps, according to the Council on Foreign Relations. Sauytbay was fortunate to escape. Today, she serves as vice president, based in Sweden, of the East Turkestan government in exile, and has documented her experience in her book, The Chief Witness: Escape from China's Modern-Day Concentration Camps. To Sauytbay's testimony, and that of other refugees, the CCP's crimes have been well documented. Nevertheless, detentions, torture, sterilization, and forced organ harvesting continue.